So you think you can tell a target market from a bell, right answers from wrong? Can you tell an effective survey from a bad one? A reaction from a customer? Do you think you can tell? And did they get you to change your products based on customer information? Promotions for prices, packaging for a cool design, competition for change? And did you exchange a strategy for an accurate survey response? How I wish I surveyed. Wish I surveyed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a little Pink Floyd inspiration there. Today we're going to take a look at effective surveys, and this is the first part of a 3-part series. So part 1, we're going to take a look at ensuring accuracy. Okay, so make sure you get out your notes, follow the STORM philosophy, and sit back and enjoy. Okay, so what are we going to look at today? Well, we are going to identify again what exactly a survey is and the purpose of surveys. This will give us the basis for the next part of this presentation, which are qualities of effective surveys. So we will look at sampling, sample size, randomness, and biases. Okay, so this is repetition, but we want to make sure that you have a very solid understanding of what exactly a survey is. Now, many of you have answered survey questions before. You've been asked, would you like to take a survey? You've responded, why, sure. And you've proceeded to give the surveyor your responses. A survey is just that, a set of carefully planned questions. We often call surveys questionnaires. Based on these questions and the responses to these questions, surveyors or marketers are able to gather data and answer a particular question or satisfy a particular objective. Right? These goals are what marketers hope to achieve. There's no reason to conduct a survey if you don't have the goals in mind. Now, oftentimes surveys are done in writing, but more and more, again, due to digital technology, we are seeing surveys on the internet, even over the phone, sometimes in person, sometimes just verbal responses, sometimes in the mail. But again, the most common one right now is on the internet, which we will look at later on. So why do we survey? Why don't we just send a survey, a set of questions to everyone that we want to ask? Well, the problem with that is very, very expensive and oftentimes impossible to do. Surveys are conducted because it's impossible to question every single target consumer. Therefore, we survey a representative population, right? It takes too much time, it takes too much money, and too much effort if we try to ask every single customer or target customer a set of questions, okay? So this selection of our target market gives us our sample responses that we can then confidently project onto the greater population, so the greater target market. So because we are surveying only a representative of the greater population, we need to make sure that we plan our surveys well. We need to ensure that they are accurate. And so to ensure that we are creating accurate surveys, we will take into account these 4 elements: sampling, sample size, randomness, and biases. So sampling is the first thing we need to consider. Now, when you plan your survey, you have a set of objectives in mind. These are problems that you hope to overcome or solutions that you are trying to present to solve these problems. Therefore, your objectives are going to be addressing your target consumer. There's no point in having objectives to satisfy a consumer that's not part of your target. You're trying to satisfy your target consumer. And therefore, your sampling, who you are going to conduct your survey with, those people should be a representative of your target market, a representative of the greater population. We are not going to select a number of people that don't fit into our target. For example, if you are surveying a grade 9 boys gym class about high school students' attitudes towards the cafeteria, is that really representative? Think about it. We're asking about the cafeteria and attitudes towards it, and we're asking about all high school students. So a grade 9 boys gym class, is that going to be representative? I'm going to say no. So now that we've identified exactly who we are going to survey, the next part is to ask how many of this target are we going to survey. Samples are never 100% accurate. However, the bigger the sample, so the bigger the sample size, the more likely it is going to be accurate. And that's what we're going for. We're going to try and be as accurate as possible. Increased sample size reduces the risk of getting inaccurate information, but it also is much more time consuming. It's much more expensive. Think about it. If you have to sample 10 people, right, you can do that fairly quickly. Less time, less energy, probably less money. But if you have to sample 1,000 people, that's a lot of surveys you have to prepare. That's a lot of information that you have to mine, data mining, right? So it's going to take a lot more time and energy, and again, based on the platform that you use, the medium that you are going to use to conduct the survey, it's going to be a lot more expensive. One survey that we are very familiar with that is 100% accurate is that of the Canadian Census. That government will set out to survey every single person in Canada. That's 100% sample. That is extremely time consuming. That's why survey results to the Canadian Census are not released right after. They take years to release each part of the survey. And that's why the Canadian government has also looked at downsizing the survey, because it's just costs too much money. For example, regarding sample size, if we wanted to determine the attitudes of Rick Hansen students on the cafeteria food, would it be valid to sample 250 students out of a student population of 2,200? Or would it be valid to sample 25 students out of a sample population of 2,200? Which one do you think is more accurate? I hope the colors indicate which one is more accurate. The next step of conducting surveys and ensuring accuracy is to ensure randomness. You want to ensure that your respondents are picked at random, that you're not selecting respondents based on preconceived notions. You want a random sample because that's going to give you the more accurate representation of the whole target market, right? If a participant's chosen on any other basis than being random, it's going to definitely lead to skewed results. Again, the idea is if we were to target only grade 9 boys, that's not very random, right? So if we're, again, going to determine the attitudes of Rick Hansen students on cafeteria food, is it random to select 100 students completely by random, just choosing you, or throwing every student number into a draw? Or would it be more random if myself, a teacher, picked the students that only I teach? Now, my students are going to be in the same courses, in the same grades. They already are aware, maybe, of my questioning. So which one is more random? So the last part of ensuring accuracy with your surveys is to eliminate biases. What we don't want in a survey is biased results. We want respondents to be able to answer freely and of their own opinion. If I am going to ensure an accurate survey, I don't want to lead a respondent down a particular path by giving them suggestions. Right? We want to know what the respondent is thinking, and we don't want to influence their response. I don't want to say to them, you should answer this, or I don't want to pose a question to them that kind of already indicates what type of answer I'm looking for. I want to eliminate all bias. So, again, to determine the attitudes of Rick Hansen students on cafeteria food, would it be biased if I ask questions such as, how would you rate the horrible food in the Rick Hansen cafeteria? Or, what would you rate the food in the Rick Hansen cafeteria? Which one is more biased? So that brings us to the end of this presentation. Now think about those 4 elements to ensure accuracy: sample size, sampling, randomness, and bias. What tools are available to you to avoid some of these pitfalls? How do you ensure you create an effective survey, an accurate survey, without spending too much time or money? Because to eliminate these 4, oftentimes it takes a lot of time and money. So how do you get around that? So make sure your notes are in order. Make sure you follow the Store and Philosophy of Note-Taking. And that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.